Hi, everybody. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. Today we're going to be talking about starting from scratch. Now, this was a surprise for me because when I sat down to write this blog, I expected them to go from a different direction. When I talk about them, those are my guides. They are my helpers who create these incredible blog posts for us and give us the direction for these calls. So this was really fascinating for me. I love the fact that they chose the journey of awakening because it really is a journey. It's not just an event that happens. Oh my gosh, you wake up and it's over. It's an ongoing process. So let's take a look at the advice they have to give to us and then delve a little more deeply into the subject to see how we can best benefit from this information and how we can best support each other. And so they begin. Dear ones, in the beginning of this journey you call awakening, in which you move away from the ego self and into your divine self, many of you have reported that it feels like your life is falling apart, as though everything you knew to be true about yourself was being stripped away, leaving you feeling raw and as though you had no choice but to start over. That which is familiar seems strange, and those whom you called friends are no longer part of your inner circle. In the beginning, while you're divesting yourself of those energies, thoughts and feelings that no longer serve you may enter. Thoughts and feelings that no longer serve you may cause you to enter a period of loneliness, a period where what you've always known is no longer enough, but what you're yearning for has not yet arrived, or if it's there in front of you, it doesn't as yet feel comfortable or familiar. Many of you refer to this period as starting from scratch or starting all over, but we believe you should refer to this period as your true beginning. When you awaken to your divinity, there's no greater truth or understanding, nor is there any greater freedom. You will in essence be on the road to completion, that place to which each one of you strives to be, the place where you do not just know, but you understand God. Every lifetime is designed to bring you closer in understanding to the Creator, so that you may gain in your ability to access the wisdom provided and thereby assist in the evolution of your planet and its people. Now let us look at how to make these new beginnings, these true beginnings, less painful. When you're presented with circumstances that have brought you to the place where you're ready to abandon your ego, you may be at a place of intense pain and suffering. This is because the suffering serves as a catalyst from what has always been to what could be. When you have reached the end of your tolerance for suffering, you are more willing to venture into what appears to be the uncharted territory of the divine. You're ready to take the chance, do the work, and make the commitment because life has become so intolerable. When you arrive at this jumping off point, where everything seems to be falling apart and your only choice appears to be starting from scratch, it's time to rejoice. You're standing on the precipice of the greatest freedom you've ever known. In the past, you perceived that you were free, that you had the ability to make choices, but we share with you that those choices were confined within the limitations of what your mind could conceive or what your limiting beliefs about yourself or your situation would allow. You may have believed you were making your own decisions, but your conditioning and past programming were really in charge. This time, when it appears you have to begin anew, is merely an indicator that the bars of your prison are beginning to come down. That which you believed is no longer accepted as truth. So you begin the deep period of questioning, of reevaluating what is true for you. And you begin reaching inward to connect with the infinite intelligence of which you are a part. Let's now look at ways in which you can ease your way into the awakened state. First, when you begin feeling overwhelmed by the pain and suffering of the life you're living and you sincerely want to find a better way, Do not suffer in silence. Call out to God. Even though you may not recognize that you're the cause of your own suffering, this will always be true. God is not doing anything to you, but the Creator will do something for you just as soon as you ask. Therefore, we want you to ask God for help, knowing that every request, every prayer is heard and answered. None of you have ever been abandoned or forgotten. Each one of you is safe and loved. Now that you've reached out to God with the expectation that your prayer is being heard and answered, relax and stop fighting. If the walls of your prison want to come tumbling down, allow them to do so. You're in no danger. Remember, you're safe and loved, so it's safe for you to let go of the limiting beliefs you've held dear. Once you've given permission for the old to pass away, for the suffering to cease, and you've enlisted the help of God, do your best not to cling to that which is familiar. If you must separate your life into two parts, there is the old, the self that endured suffering and the hardship and had coping mechanisms in place. And then there's the new self, the awakened self that's ready to cast off worn out beliefs and see them as the powerful creator they are. In order to step into your power, you cannot bring the tragedy and suffering persona with you into the awakened life. The two are not compatible, and this means that habits, thoughts, and sometimes even people should be left on the other side of the dividing line. You will not make progress into a life of flow by trying to serve two masters. The old programming, being the stronger of the two programs you have running, will pull you back into its grip with a greater hold than before if you try to live your life choosing between the two on a moment-to-moment basis. We want you to go all in. Say goodbye to your old beliefs and your old way of behaving. Yes, you may feel lonely or at least alone in the physical sense, but you will not be alone. You are surrounded by angels and other energetic beings as soon as you ask for assistance. You may have to exercise some patience as your physical reality catches up with your new spiritual perspective, but it's a small price to pay for the freedom you're receiving. In addition to being in a state of allowing, rather than a position of force, begin to make friends with your thoughts. Remember, every thought is self-generated. They're not something that was conjured up by an angry God to punish you. Once you recognize that the thoughts are yours and yours alone, go deeper, be fearless. Ask yourself, why am I thinking this? How does it serve me? What is the story I'm telling myself that allowed these thoughts to populate my mind? And lastly, what can I do to reclaim my thoughts and begin redirecting them in a way that will bring me more of what I do want? So first, find out what's going on behind the scenes. Why am I thinking this? How does it serve me? What's the story I've created around this? But don't stop there. Get in there and reclaim ownership over the thoughts that you do want. Keep going in the direction of what you do want. Finally, be brave. It takes courage to embark on the new life you've yearned for when the old life, even though it's dysfunctional, is familiar. Do your best to be supportive of all that moves you in the direction you want to go, and then reach out for help and support from others who may have been on the path longer than you have. You're stronger together, and the support you provide each other extends far beyond the group and spills out over into your world. That's why I'm so very blessed to have this community of supporters and listeners and those who are willing to take the plunge and actually talk on these calls, because the good that we do, not just for each other, spills out then onto everyone around us. And because we're all in different parts of the world, we have no idea the impact that we may be having, but we know it's a positive one. But I want to go back here where they tell us that you might have to divide your life into two parts. You might have to just say to yourself, okay, old me, new me, who do I want to choose? But I want also to point out to you, and it's very important, that you don't get caught up in blaming yourself for the suffering that you have endured when you understand that, oh my gosh, I'm the creator of this. What was I thinking? Why did I allow things to get so out of control? It was on purpose. So don't spend time blaming yourself for what went wrong. If you didn't get to that place of suffering, if you didn't endure those things, you would have never wanted to take the plunge and leap off into this new journey, this awakening journey that isn't always comfortable. So that's why they tell you, if you must, then separate your life into two parts. That old you that was willing to put up with suffering, and that new you that says, hey, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to figure out how I can make this work for me. So remember, at the beginning of the journey, and certainly what I've come to recognize, and many people are reporting as well, is just because you have embarked on this journey of awakening, it doesn't mean that you will not have periods as you grow where you feel like life is falling apart again. It simply indicates you are ready to jump to that new level. And I think I gave you the illustration, but it bears repeating. It is almost as though you're climbing stairs. When you have one foot on the upper stair or in those beautiful higher energies of love, joy, and peace, that foot is very solid. But in order for the other foot to join you on the stair, there has to be a period where the foot is neither on the step below or on the step above. It's just hanging in midair. That's when we're transitioning from who we were and what we knew to this new way of understanding and being. So it's okay if you feel like, what the heck, I've been on this journey forever and now I'm coming up with another painful period. You're just getting an opportunity to clear even more deeply. But remember, when we awaken, that which can no longer be supported begins to fall away. So that's the reason that you may feel that, gee, I don't relate to my friends anymore, or my job doesn't seem as fulfilling as it used to, or my life just isn't bringing me the kind of joy that I was hoping for. That's okay. You're going into a new phase and a new way of being. The familiar is beginning to become less and less accessible. It's no longer serving you. As you're gaining new truth and a new belief system, you need to begin generating thoughts that will support that. You're going to be rebuilding that valuable foundation. But this time, instead of building it on shifting sands, which are other people's opinions, whether you're doing well financially, whether your relationships are working out, all of the things that seem so important are really shifting sand. So this time, you're getting the opportunity to build your life on God's truth. You're being introduced to your real self that loves unconditionally, that is not attached to my job makes X amount of money, so therefore I am good or bad based on how much money I'm able to bring through the door. Even though we still need money to survive, it's no longer defining who you are. You move from good or bad judgments into a judgment or a mindset of acceptance. And that's how you are able to step into freedom. I also want to remind you that in the past, you were making all of your decisions on what you believe to be true. But what you need to understand is we all have a lens, which is our belief system, which colors the way we see things. And as you begin to awaken, the lens becomes clearer and clearer as those belief patterns that cannot be supported, that are not truthful, begin to fall away. And so you'll begin to see things more and more clearly. And in many cases, it will be very different from what you thought before. And that can be a little scary. We also need to address the loneliness that so many people report. Suddenly they find themselves unable to relate to the friends that they may have had in the past because you're stepping away from the drama that may have fueled the story that kept that friendship alive. And you're finding that it's just not tolerable to stay in the drama anymore. You can't participate. You don't have anything to say. You don't feel comfortable. They make you feel uneasy. It's okay if you step away and spend a period of time where you're really by yourself, just getting to know yourself all over again. That's the time when you go deep into your meditation, when you really spend time creating that sacred relationship with God. Call on God during this time so that you won't feel that deep period of loneliness and you won't be motivated to try to go back and pick up those old friendships because you're feeling lonely. Sometimes when we're feeling lonely or we're feeling lost or confused, we try to go back and rekindle something that wasn't working before, and it's even more disappearing. Disappointing. The other thing that might come up is fear. A lot of fear may come up because you may believe that you're entering unfamiliar territory. This thing that you've known and you've been practicing probably since beginning in early childhood is no longer working for you. And so you've got to strike out in a way that feels completely unfamiliar. But what you need to remember is this journey of your soul has been continuing through all of the lifetimes. So if you just relax and connect to Source and allow your soul to really take over for you, it will begin to feel like coming home. It will begin to feel familiar and relaxed, and you will feel supported. The other thing to remember is that you are always in the right place at the right time. Everything that's happening to you is supposed to happen. Even those tragic moments, the suffering, the things that feel so awful, they were supposed to happen because they were the catalyst to make you stop and take a moment and examine, oh my gosh, what is with this life? I am so unhappy. I'm so depressed. I'm so afraid. I'm so this, that, whatever. If you never have a negative experience, you'll never take a moment to stop and say, hey, I think something's wrong here. I really want to look deeper. There's more to my life. Nobody has ever gone from, oh, my life is wonderful, to awakening. They go from, oh my gosh, my life is in the gutter, I better do something, to the awakened state, because then you're committed, then you're willing to do the search, then you're willing to stay on the journey and go through the painful moments when it feels like you're lonely or when it feels as though your life may be falling apart. It's not falling apart, it's falling together. This is your time to reach out to God. Your prayer will be answered. You have to trust that your prayer will be answered. That's the most important thing. You cannot just ask or cry out to God and then forget about it. Ask. with the expectation that you will receive. Every prayer is answered. But if you're not open to receiving the answer, if nobody's home when the answer comes, it will feel as though you've been abandoned, God is not interested, and you've made a huge mistake. So it's really, really important to stay alert to signs and synchronicities, to be open, to be teachable, to be in a receiving space. Most important of all, be in that receiving space. Nothing can get through to you unless you have given permission for it to come into your life. That's the thing to remember, too, about the suffering that you may have endured previously. You got to understand that the suffering was on purpose, that you gave permission for it to enter your life, and because you gave permission, because you were the creator, the wonderful thing is you can choose to create something new, to say, I am no longer interested in giving permission to feeling badly. That's not working for me. I don't like my life when I feel badly. I don't like what I've created. And it's time for me now to give permission for good to come in my life. It's just that easy. So I want you to remember, it is wonderfully easy. You are incredibly powerful. You all have free will. That means you get to choose what you allow into your life and what you don't choose to have in your life. And nobody can influence you unless you give them permission. So let's look at a few ways that you may give people permission without knowing it, so that as you move forward on your journey of awakening, you'll be more and more able to be in control of what you're experiencing. Now, yes, life is going to continue to happen. You are still going to have times when things don't appear to be going that great. But you know what? It will not affect you as deeply if you have done the work to connect with God, if you've cleared out all of the things that are operating in the background that are making you feel as though you are unworthy in some way. So how do we give permission? First of all, if you have a program of unworth running in the background, if you feel that you are not valuable, that you are not worthy of receiving the thing that you're asking for, or not worthy of receiving a wonderful life, for whatever reason, it can be past conditioning, it can be a traumatic incident, it can just be part of negative thinking, that perhaps the area of the world that you live in is very steeped in negativity and you may have picked that up. Whatever the reason, get into the heart, get rid of that area that says you are not worthy. Replace it, clear it out, heal it up, and replace it with the understanding that there is no one and nothing more valuable than you. And that goes for everyone. So I'm not saying, oh, there's Mary. She's much more valuable than I am. No, that's the old programming. I am saying, I am valuable. You are valuable. Mary is valuable. Absolutely everyone on the planet is the most valuable person. There's no one better or worse than another person. We are all of equal value, but we must understand that and learn to accept it if we're going to be in this state of receptivity, so that when you call out to God, you are feeling valuable and worthy enough to receive the answer. So, we want to recognize that we're the cause of our own suffering. That's okay. Once we recognize it, we can do something about it. We can't do anything about it if we keep running around saying, why are these bad things happening to me? Well, they're happening because you're allowing them. And the beautiful truth is, just as soon as you say, hey, this is not working for me. I'm going to choose something better. Life begins unfolding in a new, more beautiful way. So you've reached out to God, and you feel like those prison walls are tumbling down, and now you're feeling unsafe because that which you felt was familiar is feeling a little, I don't know. You're okay. You're being embraced and loved by all of heaven. Learn to reach out. Learn to feel the energetic presence that is surrounding you. Bring the presence of God into your heart. Let it fill your heart and expand there. As you do this practice, more and more you'll begin to be able to feel it more and more clearly. Some of you may see it. Some of you may even hear the voice of God or of your guides. It doesn't matter which way they choose to communicate. Just know that they are always communicating with you. But remember, you cannot cling to the old ways. You've got to say, all right, I get it. That was me in the past. I believed all these things. I made myself smaller than I needed to be, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to recognize there's this new me that is ready to let go of these beliefs, and I'm going to see myself as who I am, as that powerful creator, and I'm not going to take the bait and run back into feeling small or to being a victim or to believing that I'm not powerful. The thing that we need to remember, and I really want to get this across to so many of you, is that when you wake up to the truth that, oh my gosh, I'm a powerful creator, and then you sit with that truth for a little while, you try to work with it, and you find out, oh my gosh, it's a little harder than I thought. I got all this junk coming up. And then you say something to yourself like, oh gosh, it's probably not true anyway. I'm just going to throw it away. God is not going to start punishing you. He's not going to come running after you with a hammer and saying, you are such an idiot. But life is going to go downhill. You are going to be even more attached to your old programming than you were before because you saw a way out, you started to take it, and then you drew back in fear, and now the fear is even bigger than it was before, and you're going to be even more attached to your old belief system. So be brave, keep moving forward, reach out into this community that we're building online and in so many other ways, and know that you're supported. The best thing we can do for each other is to continue to be supportive and loving, not judgmental, but supportive and loving. Understand that we're all at different parts of our journey, that we all can offer someone something. And when you need prayer or you need help, reach out. And when someone else needs prayer or they need help, then reach out to them. It's a beautiful give and take, and it's exactly what we're here to do. So I'm going to tell you a ridiculous story because my journey has been a really long one. In my 20s, I was doing this work. I was taking classes like Silva Mind Control. And I loved those classes, and I was delighted that I was really good at accessing these techniques. I just loved it. I was into everything at the time that was called New Age. I was trying to learn it all. But no one had taught me that I had to let go of the fear and the limiting beliefs and the negative programming and the stuff that was holding me back. So I was trying to put all of this stuff into a container that was already filled with negativity, and then I really couldn't figure out why it just kind of stuck but didn't completely stick. I could do the work, And I felt great, but I wasn't getting these great results. So after about 3 years of really enjoying that, I said, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I've got to get a real job. I had finished graduate school and I said, oh, what am I thinking? I can never make it doing this. I was even looking at being an instructor for Silva Mind Control, which at the time would have been one of the most valuable decisions I could have ever made, but it would have caused me to miss out on so much of the journey. So in retrospect, I am glad I didn't choose that at that time because I wasn't ready. So I've got about 3 years of doing this work, loving it, getting really involved in the community, and suddenly I wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, I need to get back into reality, get back into my real life. So I went back and got a teaching job and found myself becoming less and less happy, less and less delighted by the way my life was moving. But, I'd already given up all this stuff because it had worked, it had value, but gee, my life hadn't dramatically changed because there was no place for this stuff to go in and to free me, and I wasn't willing to go all in. I just had my toe in the water. So now, fast forward the next 10 years of my life, and oh my gosh, I created such hardship and suffering because I had stuck my toe in the water and taken it back out and said, oh no, I'm afraid of this. And then I cut myself off from every kind of mind expansive thinking. Then I would start again, dabble, check it out, but still hadn't done anything to clear the negativity. And when it didn't work, I ran back again afraid. Until finally things became so incredibly unbearable that I was willing to dive in head first and say, I don't care how long it takes, what I have to do, I'm going to find the answers because this is intolerable. I can't live this way, and I'm certainly not providing love, joy, and peace for my children or my husband. It was time to make a drastic change. And finally, I really did do all of the things that I needed to do to clear the negativity, to get beyond the hurt and the pain, and to see that there was something even more beautiful waiting for me, that I had no reason to fear, that I had created all of this. Now, Monique, you had your hand raised, so I don't want to leave you out. Tell me, what would you like to share?
Is it me, Marcia?
Yes, honey. What would you like to share?
Well, I did the volunteer work, but I quit over there because they are really going to use me not a fun way. So, but now Tuesday I starting for one morning by another volunteer job for helping people. For a host woman, so it's for people they are getting maybe if they have a car accident or something to help them build up. But my question is, on paper I cannot work anymore, but it's going to be better. But I was by the Citibank and asking for college, but I, because of my debt, I cannot afford a new college. So now I have to wait for 3 years that I am out of my debt. and for starting to make something new, because if I am going to work now, so getting a paid job, a payment job, then if it is not going to work out for me, then there is no way back. So because if I am going to work, then I don't see anything of the money, because it is yeah, how am I going to tell this? Now I getting money out of the government, and if I have taken a payment job, then they short me on my money, so I don't see anything of that. So I think then it's better for me that I take some steps about 3 years when I am out of my debt. So then I'm free to go. But 3 years is a long time.
Okay, so let's take a look at what you've got going on there so that we can help you eliminate it and you'll be able to move forward with greater freedom.
Yeah.
So what you have to look at are the beliefs that you are still holding on to that are keeping you in this negative place. But before we do that, I just want to say I love the fact that you're establishing boundaries so that even though it was a volunteer position, you were able to say, I need to be treated with respect and honored for the value that I bring. That's a really wonderful thing, and there is nothing wrong with that. Just because you're there as a volunteer doesn't mean that you should be made to feel that you are less than anyone else. You should be revered because you're there helping out.
Yeah.
So I want you to go into this new volunteer position and think to yourself, okay, I am a valuable person. I expect to be honored and respected for the value that I bring to this organization. I don't want you to go in there and say, well, I'm just a volunteer, so I'll do whatever nobody else wants to do. You go in there with an open and willing heart, but with the understanding that you are extremely valuable so that they can see your value. Because remember, if we go in there saying, oh, I'm just a volunteer, so I've got to be the servant, that's the vibration you're going to give out, and they will respond and say, oh, Monique, nobody else wants to do this job, so will you do it? And it will feel like they're being cruel, but they're just responding to your vibration. So go in there.
Yeah.
I want you to go in there with your head held high. I'm excited to help. These are my strengths. This is where I can be of the most value. Will that be, am I a good match for your organization? Let's say they say no. Okay,
No, I am, because I was also walking there for revalidation after my motor accident. So, yeah, and it feels good for me. So, yeah.
Good. But let's pretend just for a minute that they say, no, we don't need anybody like that. Don't take it personally. Say, thank you very much. I'm too valuable to waste my time and energy in a place or with people that don't appreciate me.
Yeah.
So it's okay to say, hey, I have value and you don't see it. No judgment, no blame, no shame, just, oh, thank you. I think my talents would be better used somewhere else. And then you just walk away. So as long as you feel good, go for it. But now let's address those other things that are going on under the surface. So you have agreed by believing that it will take you 3 years to get out of debt.
Yeah, and I want to I want to have doing some nature medicine college. Yeah, and I cannot afford it right now. So
Okay, but cancel that thought.
yeah,
Cancel. You have to stop feeding the lie that it will take you 3 years, that you cannot afford college, and that if you work, you will not receive any of the money because it will all
yeah,
go to paying your debt. So
yeah,
get in there, get into your heart, find out where you're allowing this belief to spring up from. Go to the place that says, hey, I gave permission to believe that it would be 3 years, to believe that I can't afford college, and to believe that if I were to get a job where I am paid, all of my money will be taken. Those are all very hurtful beliefs. So I want you to get in there, take a look at them, have a conversation with them. Belief number one, that 3 years is a really long time. What were you thinking when you agreed to 3 years? Oh, well, I just wanted to protect you. There's no other way. Oh, this is the way it's always been. Well, just because it's always been that way, or the man at Citibank told you that's the way it was going to be, doesn't mean it can't change. So then you say, I understand that this is the belief that I was told, or this is what they understand to be true, but it's no longer going to be my truth. Instead, my truth will be that I am completely financially free. I can afford whatever I want. I feel fabulous because I'm in school studying what I want to study and making a contribution. Now, all of those positive thoughts are not going to do anything for you unless you get in there and first clear out all of the lies that are allowing you to function under the falsehood that it will take you 3 years, that you will not receive any money for working, and that you cannot afford college. So you've got to get in there and say, why do I believe this? How is it serving me? What can I, uh, what program have I been running that allowed me to believe this? And what do I need to do to unravel it? Did something happen in the past that made you believe, or is it just society's belief? Well, gee, if the bank says so, then it must be true. Or if the government says so, it must be true. We've got to be brave and say, they may not be right. I am willing to suspend my belief, to cancel it out, and to say, Citibank, that may be your truth, but it's not my truth. My truth is my debt will be paid off quickly. Let's not even use the word debt.
yeah. But I don't know how because I don't have the
You
money
don't need
for
to
it.
know how. You don't
Oh,
see. Here's another. Okay, good. You just came up with another limiting belief. It can't be true because I don't know how. That's where we really screw ourselves up. Just get to the place where you can trust that it's true. You can even say to yourself, I have no idea how I am going to become financially free. I just know that I will. And leave it there. But first you've got to clear out this whole program that's running that's telling you, hey, you're in debt. You don't deserve to be paid for work that you do. You don't get to go to college. Wow, it's going to take you 3 long years. All that stuff has to go. You got to get in there. You've got to talk to it. You've got to be compassionate with yourself. You've got to stay with those thoughts and follow the thread back as far as you need to go until you find the origin, and then you say, I get it. You are a lie that was started whenever, but I no longer need you. You're no longer supporting my highest good. I'm going to let you go. Even though the rest of society, Citibank, the government, the college, even though all these people believe the lie,
No, but
I'm going.
they are helping me with paying my debts. So
So hallelujah. Thank you, Citibank, for the help that you're giving me to be financially free. Get rid of the word debt. It's a very negative word. It will hold you prisoner. Thank you, Citibank. Now, I'm going to speed it up. You've given me a fabulous start. I'm going to take my energy and put it into speeding up the repayment plan. 3 years is too long for me. I want this to speed up. And then every day you spend time, after the heart is clear, you spend time visualizing how excited you are now that you are financially free, that you're in college, that when you do work, that you can be paid well for what you do. But you got to give it fertile ground, so get in there and get rid of anything that you're telling yourself that stands in the way. It's going to take me 3 years. I don't know how. College is expensive. All of these things are standing between you and what you want. So you've got to let go. Remember, they told us, if you must, draw a line in the sand. Old me knew me. Old me believed that it would take 3 years.
yes, but do I have to now for in these 3 years, because there is no room for to getting me out of my debts. So yeah, it's
How do you know
ruined.
that? Do you have a crystal ball that says there's no possible way that my debt will be relieved? I know the future. I know every single thing that's going to happen to me between now and the next 3 years, and I know
Yeah,
for sure
but
that
then
my debt. But Monique, you don't know that, and I don't know that. What if
yeah, okay.
tomorrow you woke up and you went to your mailbox and there was a check that completely wiped out your debt?
Yeah, but
Would
I
you?
don't know from who. So
It doesn't matter. That's what
okay,
I'm saying.
okay,
You're holding yourself stuck because you
okay.
keep saying, I don't know how. You don't need to know how. God knows how. You just
Maybe
have
I
to
have to
give
buy a
permission.
lottery.
You can win the
Maybe.
lottery. You can find buried treasure. You can do a lovely thing for somebody and they say, Monique, how can I repay you? You don't know.
Yeah,
You may
okay.
invent the next life-saving device and become a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, I hope so. I will.
You don't know and you don't need to know. The only thing you need to do is give yourself permission to let go of the belief that it cannot happen.
Yeah,
As
okay.
long as you're holding on to the belief that it can't happen, it will never be able to happen.
Yeah, okay.
You got to choose one or the other. You can't moment to moment be, I don't believe it. Yes, I do. I don't. I do. I do. You'll make yourself crazy.
Yeah.
You got to make a commitment. Either you're going to believe that it's possible for this financial freedom to speed up, or you've got to be okay with it's going to take 3 years. Either way, it's okay. Nobody's
No,
going
I
to
hope
punish you.
I
But,
hope that it's going to speed up.
okay, but it takes you making the decision and then going into the heart and clearing out all of those negative suggestions and beliefs that you are participating in. I don't want to hear you say, I hope it will go more quickly. You've got to get to a place of certainty and sureness. So that means clear out, get in there. Oh, I hope it's going to happen. Hope is not an action word. get in there and say, all right, I'm releasing my need to hang on to hope. I'm going to replace it with, I am absolutely certain I will be financially free quickly.
Okay.
And get in there and say, I am grateful to Citibank, and I know that this repayment is speeding up. What if Citibank calls you tomorrow and says, Monique, we made a mistake, and, you're all paid up?
Yeah, well, it's possible because they are going to call the business people where I having my debt, and he told me that maybe there are some business people and they are saying, well, just leave it. So I hope for that.
Well, get busy, get in your heart and clear it out so that when they make that call, your vibration is, I'm financially free. They're going to pick up on that. You don't want to be holding on to the space of, oh, I hope they forgive my debt. That's you clinging on to the debt. Instead, clear out that energy, replace it with, I am so excited I'm financially free, so that when they make the call from Citibank to the businesses say, what? No. She's there. I don't see any record of that. Everything's clear.
Great.
Anything can happen, good or bad. We just have to make the determination of whether we want to receive the good or the bad.
Yeah.
And if there should be a setback, if it's something that appears to be not going in the direction that you want it to, just let it go.
Okay.
Oh darn, I got a flat tire. Oh, well, look at this. Here's a lovely person that wants to help me. Aren't I blessed? Look at your life as though you are blessed instead of cursed. And you will begin attracting more and more of those blessings. But
yeah,
I really want you to be... Go ahead.
It doesn't feel really being cursed, but I wanted to move on. And I
get
cannot
into your
move
heart.
on right now. Yeah.
Get into your heart and clear out the negativity so that there is fresh, fertile ground for these new beliefs to take hold.
Yes, okay.
You've been practicing the old belief all of you're in your 40s now, I think?
Yes, 64.
Okay, so you may have been practicing these beliefs for 50 years.
Yeah.
So it's time to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And stay on it. Say, no, I see you, negative old belief trying to creep back in here. I see you and I'm not letting you back in. I am slamming the door on you. I cleared you out of my energetic field. I don't want you back. And I am going to hang on to my belief that anything wonderful is possible.
Yeah, next week I'm buying a lottery ticket.
Okay. But before you buy that ticket, please do me a favor and make sure that you've cleared out the belief that it's not possible and you have replaced it with the belief that anything is possible.
Okay.
But let's make it even more specific and say anything good is possible. Get used to giving directions to your energetic field. We just don't want to throw it out there, oh yeah, anything's possible, and then you start thinking negatively and you wonder why you're attracting a lot of negativity back to you.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Get used to saying it exactly as you want it to be. So get used to saying anything good is possible. And then you will alert yourself to be looking for the good. I had one gentleman who was one of my students, and he used to tell me, I'm afraid to go to the mailbox. And he was an older gentleman. I said, why are you afraid of going to the mailbox? And he said, what if they send me a bill that I can't pay? His fear was so palpable. I just wanted to hug him. He was so afraid. So I had him walk it back and say, okay, where are you living now? Well, I'm living in a place that's paid for. Okay, so they can't take your home away. Is that correct? Yes. All right, now I could feel that he was starting to take a breath. Then I said, okay, do you have insurance, medical insurance? Yes, I'm completely covered by medical insurance. Okay, so a bill for medical expenses is not going to arrive that you cannot pay because you have yourself completely covered. So that we went down all of his list of expenses, and I just had him go down the list. Is it normal for your electric bill to stay within the same couple of dollars? Yes. Okay, so you're pretty safe, assuming that the electric bill will always be about the same amount. Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. He had created for himself a story that was so debilitating because he was afraid something was going to come out and bite him. But when we really looked at everything he had in place, all of the safeguards and all of the things that were happening on a daily basis, there really wasn't anything to be afraid of. He was just afraid of the possibility that there would be something to be afraid of. And that's where I want you to realize that sometimes we are afraid that there may be something to be afraid of. Just like this gentleman who was making up stories because he needed some way to support the fear. We worked back through the fear. We worked back through all of his circumstances. We let go of some trauma for him. So he had fertile ground then to plant his flag in his heart and say, I'm safe and loved. I can tell the new story that I am safe and loved. I want you to begin telling that new story that you are safe and loved. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. We have all made mistakes, and let me tell you, I understand they were on purpose. They were our motivation. If everything stayed the same, you would never have taken this step into the awakening, the journey of awakening, and towards your completion, your state of completion, which is where you know God intimately. You would have continued living your life by default, not knowing that you were a powerful creator, and just kind of dealing with things. So, let go of those mistakes. We've all made them. They are our greatest asset. They're our hallelujah moment because they are letting us know something better. I can make better choices. I'm not a prisoner. I'm not a victim. I don't have to suffer. I can take away permission. I'm that powerful. That's huge once you really get a hold of it. Once you really see, hey, I don't have to believe that it will take 3 years unless I choose. If I choose, that's okay. I need to learn that lesson. But if I really want to see myself financially free, I need to let go of the fact that it's going to take 3 years. I'm just going to say, I'm open to any possibility.
Yeah.
What if they call you tomorrow and say, okay, apply for school, you're financially free? Are you going to say, oh no, I want to stay in debt?
No.
Exactly. So start the new story. Don't be my dear sweet gentleman who was afraid to go to the mailbox. Don't make up a story that has no value to it in terms of being able to help your life move forward. Be the powerful creator that you are. You are magnificent, but you've got to allow yourself to be magnificent.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to be afraid to go to the mailbox. You're going to be afraid of the dark, believing that there's something there when nothing is there. Because we always have a choice. We can believe the lie or we can believe the truth, but we cannot live without being insane, believing both. And because you've practiced the lie for longer, it is more powerful. So that's why you've got to be really, really committed to letting go of that old belief system and planting a new belief system in its place once you've cleared out the old belief system. Got to clear it out first. Otherwise, it's going to take so long. That was my journey. My journey was just trying to dump new stuff over the old stuff and pretend the old stuff wasn't there. 20 years later, I finally got a hold of what was wrong. And as soon as I started really getting in there and cleaning it out, that's when things began to really shift. Then I had fertile ground. Okay, Lovey, that is all we have time for today. I thank you for sharing that. It was so beautifully perfect for today. Because unless we say them out loud or to another person, we don't always hear some of the negative things that we are allowing to go on in our mind. So that's why it's so important we have this community and that someone else can lovingly say, did you just hear what you said? Did you just hear that you are claiming all of the things that you don't want? And here's how you can claim what you do want. So thank you for sharing, for being such a wonderful contributor today. I'm just so glad that all of you are here. You make my day brighter and brighter. So if you need more information, I am available for one-on-one sessions, for classes. We're going to be doing some really wonderful new stuff beginning in the new year. It's taking me a little bit of time to get the material together. I want it perfect before I share it with you. But please go to my website, Marcia, spelled Marcia, MarciaMartinTheHeartHealer.com. If you would like to speak with me personally for a consultation, a free consultation, 30 minutes, send me a message. If you don't get a return message, check your spam folder. I always reply. If you don't hear from me, something is wrong. If it's not in your spam folder, please resend the message. I did not receive it. All right. Sending you all a big hug and lots of love. Remember, it's MarciaMartinTheHeartHealer.com. We're not going to have a call next week. It is Thanksgiving will be on Thursday here in the U.S., and I will have a whole house full of people on Friday. So I'm just going to take that time off. But in the meantime, enjoy next week, and we will be back together the following week. So sending you lots of love. There will be a blog that I will send out to the list. That's the other thing. Please subscribe to the list. You'll get notifications of classes and the ongoing ways in which I can support you. You will also receive the daily inspiration. Sending you lots of love. Thank you all for being on the call. And thank you, Monique, for your incredibly valuable contribution.
Thank you too, and have a nice weekend. So it's Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Lots of love.